Welcome to week 5. This week's topic is the Tree of Life. I'll briefly cover a historical view of the Tree of Life, the modern aspects of the Tree of Life, and implications for the origins of life. Here are early depictions of the Tree of Life, one from Darwin and another based on 3 kingdoms: plants, protists, and animals. To begin with, data was mostly based on the likeness shared between the organisms, i.e. did they look the same, did they have the same morphologies and traits, or share the same biological processes. In biology, this is referred to as the study of taxonomy. However, like an assortment of buttons, how do you group them? Do you group them by size, or by colour, or by the number of holes maybe? The problem is that you might want to group them differently to others, which leaves the question, is this Tree of Life really correct? With advances in molecular biology, and especially DNA sequencing over the past century or so, scientists are developing what we now call the phylogenetic tree of life. Here we see a current so-called phylogenetic tree of life, which is developing based on DNA sequencing. So instead of just relying on morphological features, we can group organisms together based on their DNA. There is, of course, still issues with classifying organisms using DNA, similar to the button scenario, and some may say that this classification process is even more complex than historical approaches because of the vast amount of data we now face. But nonetheless, DNA sequencing has proven very useful and has implications for the origins of life, which I'll talk about in more detail later. The current Tree of Life is broken into 3 domains: eukarya, archaea, and bacteria. In eukaryotes, the EU is Greek for true. Karyote is Greek for nut, which refers to the nucleus. Therefore, eukaryotes have a nucleus, whereas pro translates to before, so prokaryotes are before the nut, i.e. they don't have a nucleus. So here's just a quick example of a species in the domain eukaryotes, or true nut, or having a nucleus. It's a dog, or Canis familiaris, which comes from the genus Canis, the family Canidae, order Carnivora, class Mammalia, phylum Chordata, and kingdom Animalia. Here is now listed the taxonomy for us, right? Humans, Homo sapiens. Now we come from the same animal kingdom. We also have spinal cords, so we share the same phylum, and we are also part of the class Mammalia. However, this is where we branch off, and we are related to primates at the order level. So we are part of the family Hominidae, the genus Homo, and the species Sapiens, hence Homo sapiens. However, bacteria and archaea, being prokaryotes, i.e. before the nut, having no nucleus, are a group composed of only microscopic organisms. This doesn't mean that there are no eukaryotic microorganisms, but in this tree it simply shows that the majority of life on Earth is microscopic, and it also shows that all life on Earth descended from microorganisms. In fact, more specifically, it is suggested from phylogenetic evidence that all life descended from hyperthermophiles within the domain archaea. Hyperthermophiles are actually super heat-loving microorganisms. They typically have optimum growth within temperatures higher than 80 degrees Celsius, which correlates with conditions found at volcanic hot springs. So it's suggested that Earth was a very different place when life first originated. We know that early Earth lacked atmospheric oxygen, and that it was much, much hotter. It is even suggested that the oceans may have been up to 80 degrees in temperature. So by climbing down the Tree of Life, scientists have begun to piece together the origins and evolutions of life on Earth.